Hi there, I'm G, and this is Warhammer Quest for iOS. It's available for iPad and iPhone, but we are playing the iPad version here. I've not tried it on the iPhone, but I imagine it works absolutely fine, but I'll try and get more on that at some point later. Anyway, what is this? Well, this is based on a 90s board game of the same name, which in turn is a spin-off of the popular Warhammer sort of board game franchise, which you may know as the kind of British army building game, you know, with hundreds of figures and, you know, insane prices and all that. This is kind of more of a traditional Dungeons and Dragons style game, though, you know, plundering tombs with, you know, a merry band of adventurers who apparently have nothing better to do than attack giant spiders and orcs and all that silliness. Much like the army building board game, though, it is a lot darker than Dungeons and Dragons, but also with a fair bit more humour. Very dark humour in most cases, but it's there. Also, everyone tends to speak in a Cockney accent, so that's a plus, I suppose. Anyway, let's get to it. This is my team. These are my 4 dudes, although I think the elf might be a lady. I'm not entirely sure at the moment, because you only ever get to see them from the top, but whatever. And we are in this, I guess it's just a standard dungeon, looking for something. I mean, all the quests are pretty much the same as, you know, go into this dungeon, find the end room, kill everything in the dungeon. Congratulations, you'll get some kind of reward. And while that's simple, it does have a certain level of satisfaction to it. I should mention, these are randomly generated dungeons, so I have no idea what is going to happen. I will try my best to react as stuff occurs, but, you know, I'm not prepared. I'm sorry, but only so much you can do. Let's get moving, my dudes. It's a standard turn-based idea. Everyone has a different movement range and such like. One thing I do like is that you can move people at the same time, which saves an awful lot of effort. One thing I've always really hated about turn-based games is just the very slow, cumbersome nature. Move a guy, watch animation. Okay, now you can move your next guy. Wait for that animation to finish. Gets very tiresome. In this, everything's very fluid and fast-paced, which is, you know, great for this kind of platform. That's exactly what you'd want from this. So let's check out what's in this next room. I'm going to send my Marauder forward. Nope, nothing there. I did that because my Marauder has a special ability whereby if he's surprised by a sudden sight of an enemy, he will get a free attack on them, which is very useful for scouting ahead. Enemies can attack you pretty much any time, though, which is why you're generally encouraged to keep your party close together. Enemies tend to do a lot of damage, so it's very easy for your dudes to die. So if you get, if one of them gets stranded on their lonesome, then they do not have long for this world, unfortunately. Let's gradually make our way through. So while I'm doing that, I'll just describe what everyone does. Wizard, as you expect, has the spells. He doesn't do crazy amounts of damage, but he has lots of area of effect stuff, and he's the only character who can do that. Marauder, this guy up front, he's your big main-time brawler. He's practically invincible, deals tons of damage. Oh, we've got an encounter with some Orc boys and some Orc Arab boys. So, if you don't know, that's a common Warhammer joke, is that Orcs cannot spell, thus their names for everything are very weird. So, who should I attack with first? Let's get my archer out there and explain what they do. Let's move them here. Now, ranged and melee attacks are handled separately, so my archer gets 2 ranged attacks and 1 melee. So I've moved them here next to this orc so that I can get 2 ranged attacks on these guys up here and then make a melee attack to this dude, because once you start attacking you can't then move, so you want to be in your right position before you begin your assault. Now here's the one thing I don't like about this game, and it's a pretty big issue. I have no idea what my accuracy is to hit either of, well, any of these people here. I can select them for a ranged attack, but it's not going to say, oh, you have a 10% chance of hitting or whatever. And that makes it very difficult to make decisions, so you just have to make a best guess. Generally, in my experience, ranged attacks have abysmal accuracy, which is kind of irritating. So yeah, those didn't even come close. So then I can make a melee attack against this guy. Oh yeah, did 4 damage there. So that's most of his health. The numbers are quite small in this game. They don't get to like ridiculous Final Fantasy levels. Let's see how much magic has my wizard got. He's got 5. So at the beginning of each turn, wizards get what's called the Winds of Magic, and that's basically what their MP is for that turn. You can store up some Winds of Magic for later use in emergencies. You know, you need to heal very quickly, but you can't recharge that value during your stay in the dungeon, so you have to make sure you really want to use it. Wizards are actually quite good at melee combat as well. I've equipped this guy with a dagger, allows him to attack twice, and it doesn't take his strength stat into account, so even though as a wizard his strength isn't very high, it doesn't matter, he's still going to do a fair bit of damage. Not that the game's especially clear on how strength actually factors into the greater gestalt of its combat mechanics, but we'll get on to that later. It's kind of another issue. What can I use? So I've got enough to use Shadow Bolt, and that's a weak area of effect attack, which will hit in a grid like that. Or I can use Shadow Daggers, and what that does is it'll attack the guy immediately in front of me and anyone standing next to them. But there's no point in using against this guy because there's no one standing next to him. This game does have friendly fire, by the way, so if I'd used that, well, my archer was, say, standing there next to that archer boy, he would have also got hit, or she. I'm still not sure about that, but I think that's my best decision now. Use my magic. Magic thankfully does not end your turn, so I can then immediately make a melee attack against this guy. And he gets 2, and he missed both, so much for him being alright at melee. Okay, let's move forward my Dwarf Ironbreaker. So the Ironbreaker is your heavy hitter, essentially. He's can't take that much damage, but he hits very hard. I've generally found him not actually to be that useful on the whole, though, because he doesn't hit that much harder than other dudes, although he just decimated that orc, so what do I know. But this Marauder, who I've very cleverly blocked off the approach with, so yeah, you can't actually move through your allies sometimes, which is annoying. He's kind of broken. I'll just end this turn and we can explain. Oh yeah, get to watch the enemy do their turn. Enemies generally don't have that many abilities, they'll just run up to you and attack, but I think I'm still relatively early in the game, so maybe that'll change later. And there we have a very good example of how easy it is for your dudes to die. In that one round, I've lost over half health for my ranger and my wizard, so scary stuff. Luckily my wizard got 8 winds of magic that turn, so I get access to Healing Mist, which I'll use to heal the wizard. We got 6 that time. That number is randomized, so it could have been 1, which would have been very annoying. You may notice that despite the amount of randomness in this game, you do not bear witness to any of the dice rolls, which is, again, kind of an irritating thing. And I think that's my core issue with this game. It's trying to have its cake and eat it. It wants to be true to the original board game by having all these stats and numbers and calculations, but it hides it all from you. And you know, that's kind of irritating. You know, why would you bother? Why would you bother having any of these stats in here if all you're going to do is hide it behind, you know, a curtain that cannot be penetrated? And for people like me who like micromanaging and understanding the inner mechanics of a game when you're making tactical decisions, it's very frustrating because I just want to know, like, if I'm going to equip a weapon that gives me +1 to strength, I want to know what strength actually does. What's the point in telling me about it? Oh, and Archer Boy is down, or Archer Girl, still not sure. So when someone dies in a dungeon, they are not gone permanently unless you're in hardcore mode. You just lose them for the rest of your stay in the dungeon. But because you only get 4 people, losing one person makes dungeons significantly harder, let's say. Let's get my Ironbreaker to attack this guy. When I get out of combat, I'll show you the stat screen and how it frustrates me. And get my Berserker dude up here. So the Marauders... What makes a Marauder so hacks, more than, you know, just him having crazy health. You can see he has 18. Oh, just got a bit of loot. This is a Sundry, which I think is a very amusing way of wording it, which basically means vendor trash. So you can sell this for 37 gold, it serves no purpose other than taking up your inventory space. So what the Berserker does is, at the beginning of every turn he has a chance of going completely nuts. And when he does, his attack might go up or it might go down, but regardless he will get a free attack on anyone standing near him, including allies, which can be a bit irritating. Thankfully that attack does very little damage, and more often than not, the Marauder will get significantly stronger for going nuts. And that can stack several times to the point where he is just an unstoppable engine of destruction, thus making the other characters seem more like a support group than anything for the Marauder. Thankfully, the Ranger lady or guy is possibly the least useful out of all my people in my party at the moment, mainly due to the equipment I've given them, so it's not a huge issue that I lost someone. Let's go to the stats screen temporarily. What you do to get to that is you turn your iPad up vertically. That allows you to see what's going on here. The inventory system works on 3 tiers. There are common items, uncommon items, and rare items, and you can have 4 of each, which can lead to very weird situations. A lot of healing items tend to be common, but let's say I couldn't have equipped any healing items on my elf because they already have all 4 slots taken up by armor, boots, bow, and a sword. So if it was an uncommon healing item, they'd be able to equip it, but not common. It seems like a very weird, arbitrary system, which I'm assuming is a throwback to the original board game. Which, again, that's a case of it trying to have its cake and eat it. Here's this weird, arbitrary mechanic that doesn't really make much sense, but because it was in the board game, we're going to put it here. Which is fine, you know, I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is this. They give you all these stats like toughness, melee attacks, range attacks, pinning and all that, but they don't tell you how those stats are actually factored into the game. It tells you what they do, you know, pinning gives you a greater chance to pin an opponent, which means they can't move on their next turn, but without telling you how that actually gets calculated, what's the point in knowing it's 8? Why would you bother? Is 9? Is that good pinning? I don't know. I have no point of reference. I don't know anything about the calculation. I mean, fair enough, they want to, you know, stop this from being too esoteric, but at the same time, this stuff's here. At least have like some kind of switch where I can flip it and it goes, okay, we're going to reveal to you how all the dice rolls and stuff work. There's no reason to hide all that stuff when it is there and people would like to know. That's more or less... I don't really have much else bad to say about this game because other than that, I've been really enjoying my time with it. It's tense, let's say. Like, look how easily I lost that ranger. Like, I could spend ages on this dungeon and be, you know, I think at least once I've got through it just by the skin of my teeth, having like one last warrior left who was just barely managed to survive whatever the raid boss was. And that's quite exciting. You don't really get that in games anymore, especially not single-player ones like this. Okay, I should probably be a bit more careful this time, as if I lose another person, that's going to be... It's going to make getting through this dungeon kind of difficult. I think what I'm going to do is try and get through this dungeon, and then I will go to the world map and show you how all that shizzle works. And that'll probably be it. I think you're getting a good look on what this game is all about already. This is where you will spend a vast majority of your time. The world map does not play a hugely significant factor in how you enjoy this game. It's merely just a very snazzy menu where you get to decide where you're going next. I'm not getting many encounters. Oh, here we go. 8 snotlings and 2 orc boys. So snotlings are basically your sort of swarming dudes. They don't really do much damage, they can't take much damage, but there are a lot of them. As you can see, most of this room is pretty much completely full of them. If I'd been smart, I would have had my marauder enter this room and he would have got a free attack on one of these snotlings, but I didn't. But I do have enough for a shadow bolt. If I place that here, I may be able to kill all these snotlings. See, they only have 3 hit points, so let's see how that works out. Oh, excellent. Yeah. That's how it is done. And you can move after magic, so if I go here, Attack this dude. Thing to bear in mind is you can have encounters within encounters, so at any moment a completely new group of orcs could spawn, like say right here, and get me in a pincer attack, so you always have to bear that in mind when you're positioning your guys. Let's attack this guy, see if I can get a death blow. Yeah, I got a death blow. How they work is, if you manage to kill an opponent with an attack, you have a certain chance of immediately getting a free attack on another adjacent enemy. Which is again how the Marauder tends to be pretty hacks, because once he's built up a few stacks of Berserk, he will just get death blow, death blow, death blow, and just decimate entire armies of enemies. Not that I'm complaining, but it does make this poor little Ironbreaker seem a bit insufficient. He just doesn't really have much of a thing. His only real ability is that he can hit slightly harder than any other... excuse me. He can hit slightly harder than other classes. But when all these other classes have other abilities that make them far more useful on top of that, it seems kind of pointless. Like the Wizard has his spells, and look, I've got a Berserk now, which is giving me 1 extra attack per turn. So let's see if I can do anything with this. Death blow. Yeah, if he'd killed there, he'd have probably got another death blow. Let's see if I kill this guy, I might get an attack on that orc. Yeah, there you go, a death blow, and death blow. So now you can see how the Marauder is maybe a little bit too useful. Whereas this guy is even going to be able to kill this thing. Oh, he did, so he did actually serve a purpose there. Let's move my wizard. We'll get a knife attack on this guy. That should end the encounter, give me some kind of loot. Oh, no loot that time. Strange. And let's use my 5 magic to cast Healing Mist on my Marauder. Oh, see, I randomly got a 1 there, and you're not really told how that's decided. Let's just say, at random, it will choose a value. It'd be nice to know what actually factors into that. Room is strangely silent. In fact, whenever you try to speak... Oh yeah, so this is one of the weird events you can get at random. Again, all hidden values, no dice rolls visible to the player. And so it seems there is a group of enemies nearby who are stealthed. So at absolutely any moment, someone can jump out and attack me, which means I have to be even more on guard than before. Oh, and I was silly there. My wizard actually had 0 winds of magic, so I instead tapped into his reserve magic, which I don't really want to spend unless I have to. It really should just be there for emergencies. It should be enough healing. Let's move on. You guys probably get the general gist of this game at this point. Oh, I found the boss. I do like these little bits of flavour text. It gives it that kind of D&D feel, you know. You can imagine some guy just reading this out to his players. I completely forget why I was in this dungeon. I think it was to get some kind of equipment, but it generally doesn't matter. Oh, see, because that goblin surprised my Marauder, he got a free attack on it, which makes things a bit easier. Is that goblin already taken damage? No, he hasn't. What else can I say about this game? You may notice the dungeon tiles look pretty goddamn nice. And they are very similar to the style of dungeon towns you would have got with this kind of board game back in the day, which I highly appreciate. I didn't actually play any Warhammer Quest back in the day, but I did play a fair bit of Dungeons and Dragons equivalents. So I do have some form of affinity for dungeon tiles and other such nonsense. Let's see if I move him here. I'll get a free attack on that guy. Well, not a free attack, but... Oh, that didn't do much. He can't move, he can't move. Sure wish you had a ranger. Oh crap, the boss was right there. Thankfully, my Marauder does have a shield, so he has a chance to block, which did maybe save his life there. Bosses tend to be massively powerful compared to the normal troops, which I know, yeah, big surprise, but I mean really, really strong in comparison. I'll check his stats in a sec. Oh, And I got a secondary encounter. There is now a small army of giant spiders. Luckily my Marauder did get one of his free attacks. And he has gone berserk, so he'll get an extra attack this turn. Yeah, I think this may have screwed me over. If you wanted a good example of how easy it is for things to go tits up in this game, then, well, here it is. Oh. Oh, Ironbreaker actually showing his worth this time around. He's not got any magic left. Because I used up all the reserves earlier, so I'm smart. Actually, no, I've got enough reserve to cast Shadow Daggers, so I can show you what this does. Cast it on him, it'll hit his two adjacent allies. But it does tiny amounts of damage, so it's not that useful. Yeah. See, this boss has 36 health. To give you an impression, an Orc Boy has 9 health, and I think those Snotlings had something like 3. So, yeah, boss is pretty tough. Does for some reason have... Yeah, he's got 2 attack power. Actually, no, sorry. 2 attacks per turn, which most general enemies only have the 1. So let's attack this dude. I don't think I'm going to win this unless I get extremely lucky. Yep, well, that's my Marauder dead, so... it's not looking good for my Wizard and my Ironbreaker. But I shall soldier on, see what I can do. I believe when your party gets wiped, you still keep any gold you acquired, but all experience points are lost. Which is possibly the most irritating thing in this, because, you know, you spend a lot of time in these dungeons, you kind of like to keep the experience points, but there's got to be some punishment, I suppose. My wizard is pinned, so he can't move. He's got just enough to cast Healing Mist. And he heals 4 wounds, so he's going to survive for at least a little bit longer. Let's try and get rid of some of these grunts before I try and attack the boss again. Come on, Ironbreaker. Prove me wrong. Be useful. No, he decided that was not a good idea. If your party manages to survive a raid encounter, but some of them do get knocked out, those characters will not get their experience. Yeah, I'm screwed. I'm completely screwed. Oh god. Unless Ironbreaker is just crazy lucky from now on, then this is over. Although he's barely getting hit. Oh, no, he got hit. And another encounter, 4 Snotlings. Yeah, I am doubly screwed out. Oh god, and they get a free attack, but they all missed, so that is okay. Let's just go through the motions. So what was I saying? Yeah, so if someone dies in a dungeon, they will not get experience points, even if your party does survive the actual dungeon encounter. Which is annoying, because experience points are determined by which enemies each character kills. So, for example, one time I was trying to level up my Ironbreaker to make him more useful, so I had him land the killing blow on every enemy in the dungeon. And then, right as we were fighting the raid boss, he died. Which meant at the end of the dungeon, no one got any experience, because the Ironbreaker had all the kills, but as he died, he didn't get any of the experience. Which can be very frustrating. I was going to death blow, and he missed. Ironbreaker, fight to the bitter end. Make your dwarven brethren proud. Oh, you blocked that from the boss. Miss. 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 Come on, you can do it, man. Miss. Miss. Oh, one more. One more. And a miss. He survives for another turn. See if I can get a death blow chain going by killing one of these Snotlings. 1 death blow. 2 death blow. And he missed. Oh, another death blow. Ugh. Well, he's proven me wrong by... Oh. Well. I guess not. He's dead. It's over. It's all over. It actually forces you to end turn before you lose. Defeated. Have to continue. Yep, so that's a pretty good example of a dungeon encounter and how everything can go spectacularly wrong even when you think you are on top of the world. So this is the world map. It's not particularly huge and you don't really explore it as such, you just travel between settlements, and then when you exit each settlement it'll give you a list of quests from that place. So I've got to travel back, and on your way you can have all sorts of encounters that'll have random events, like someone might offer to show you a shortcut for 50 gold, which will get you there sooner or something like that. But because of how grim and dark the Warhammer universe is, pretty much any decision you make can result in bad things happening. Like most of the time I've paid to have a shortcut shown to me, they've instead robbed me and taken away most of my gold. And this game is very old school in terms of its pricing of equipment, and that is to say, it prices it very highly. See, this fine great axe, despite not being substantially more powerful than what I have now, is 1,900 gold. I don't think at any point in this game, after playing it for about 3 hours, I've had more than 1,600 gold. So, yeah. Expensive stuff, expensive stuff. It takes a lot of questing to afford things. The worst part is some of these consumables, like this healing item here, which I think you only get to use once per dungeon or something like that. That costs 3,000 gold for 1 to 6 wounds of healing, which is pretty tiny. Again, very true to your old school Dungeons and Dragons stuff. But yeah, here's the market. General thing, buy equipment, accessories, weapons, provisions, that kind of stuff. You get a lot of money from selling things, like this holy artifact is a sunrise, so might as well sell it, serves no other purpose. I'm keeping my dwarven axe in case I want to change my guy to a one double-handed axe user instead of a single. Other places you can go... Training grounds, this is where you pay to level up. Once you gain a certain amount of experience, you then pay the fee and your guy will gain a new ability and a few stat boosts. Not, of course, that you have any idea what any of those stats do, so the stat boost thing is, again, seemingly rather pointless. Oh, okay, I had another random event there, which caused one of my warriors to spend gold on luxuries. Yeah, this game's full of weird events like that. I'm pretty sure that's what the board game mainly revolved around anyway, so that makes sense. I'm just going to go Adventurers Guild. And here is where I can retire characters. I don't know what that does, other than remove them from my party. I'm not sure what mechanic that feeds into. I guess it's some kind of score? I don't know. As you can see down here, there are 3 extra characters I don't have. These are, of course, DLC. So let's see. The Troll Slayer. £2. Bear in mind, this game is £3, and I think that's something like $2, which is not very much considering what you're getting, so I don't think it's too outrageous that it has several DLC characters. What I do wonder about, though, is if you buy those characters, does that mean you can take all of them into a dungeon with you? And that would bother me, because that kind of upsets the actual balance of the game. Hopefully you are always limited to 4. These characters do sound quite interesting. They've all got their own unique mechanics and abilities, so it does actually add a nice new dimension to the game if you choose to go that direction. I don't know if this enemy pack thing is worth it, because I imagine it just gives you more dungeons where you go kill stuff, so you're not really getting a particularly new experience with that. But I don't know, because I haven't played it. Maybe I will at some point. And then, of course, as per usual, you have the giant, expensive gold packs, which always kind of rub me the wrong way. I'm not sure why you would want to actually buy any of these. 4,000 gold will not get you especially far in this game. As we saw, stuff that is decent tends to be very, very expensive, so you kind of be playing like 90% of the cost of the game just to buy items within this game, which is, that's weird. Why would you want that? That's just strange. And of course there's already so many random events in this game that will steal gold away from you. It kind completely random moments. So, you know, paying real money for gold when it can just disappear is probably not a great idea. I think that's pretty much it, yeah. I think that's Warhammer Quest. I will just go adventuring so I can show you what choosing quests look like. There are two different types of quests that I've seen so far. There's these grey ones, which are just randomly generated, and then there are these red story ones, which, for all intents and purposes, are identical. With the exception that I think they are level capped. So, this quest, it says recommended level 2, but for grey quests, I think they level up the enemies according to the level of your party. So you can always kind of guarantee a challenge with a grey quest, whereas a red one will have a set difficulty. There is not some like grand story that links everything together. The story quests purely seem to be there is just a bit more dialogue to them than the grey ones. So there's really not that much difference. It's still just go into a dungeon, kill a thing, get reward, and that's it. But you know, isn't that what life's all about, really? Going into a dungeon and getting a reward. And that's it. That is Warhammer Quest. Thank you for watching. Hi there, thanks for watching This is Warhammer Quest. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please remember to like, share, comment and subscribe, as well as check out some of my other videos. Also, if you're interested in a game similar to this that's also for the iOS, why not check out Hunters 1 and 2? It's by the same developers as Warhammer Quest, and it uses a lot of the same ideas and mechanics, but it's set in their own unique sci-fi universe rather than something that's pre-established. I haven't played it much myself yet though, but I'm really looking forward to diving into it a bit further, and hopefully I'll have a This Is up of it at some point. Anyway, thanks again for watching. See you around.